What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the WLab'ing Podcast. Today we have two very special guests.
Hi, my name's Emily.
And I'm Bryan.
So, Emily, why are we here today? Who are you? Why are you famous?
Well, like I said, my name is Emily. We're here today to just chat as friends and talk about the project we collaborated on. And I was on Vine, and then Vine was obviously murdered, so I had to forcefully transition to YouTube.
Wait, did you already have a YouTube channel while you were on Vine?
Like, yes, but I wasn't posting. And so then once Vine was, killed, I was like, shit. Because actually I thought that maybe, that was just it for me. Like I peak at 17,
Okay, so what type of content did you make on Vine?
The same thing, like comedic, just thinking of a joke and then making a sketch of it. And I'm also on TikTok now as well.
Follow her on TikTok.
Follow me on TikTok.
Yeah, so that's how you got famous. But did you already want to be an actress?
Oh, I always wanted to be an actress. Okay. Yeah, ever since I was little, I was the person who forced my friends to film a show with me, with my little camcorder. Like, guys, we're gonna do a sketch now, and they're like, ugh, okay.
Emily, another sketch for Emily. Yeah, I would totally do a sketch for you. All right, Bryan, who are you?
What's up, guys? I'm Bryan, like I said earlier, aka ToonRen. That's my creator name, I guess. I'm a New York-based filmmaker. I'm originally from Malaysia, but I've been all over the world and stuff. And I'm currently a film student.
Yeah, Bryan's one of the most talented filmmakers I know. Up and coming.
Very good.
Bryan Lee coming to your local theater. Emily, how did we all get connected?
I am, despite being a content creator, my main goal in life, I want to be an actor, right? I had, at this point, I was already in a couple student films, independent short films, stuff like that. And I was just scrolling through my Instagram spam messages just because I was curious. And then I saw Mr. Tim, and I clicked on his message, and he basically was like, we're working on this project called Empathy Man, and he basically asked me to audition, and I was like, yes.
Wow, how did you not get creeped out by that? How did you know I was not a murderer?
A murderer?
Yeah.
I guess I really just took my chances, didn't I?
Yeah,
and here I am alive and well, so.
That's kind of crazy, because I didn't know it was pure chance that you opened this message.
I mean, yeah.
Because we met before on a set. That's how I knew you.
Wait, I literally forgot about that. No.
Oh.
No, we did. And
Yeah.
no, because I remember because I think when we were going back and forth, I saw that I already followed you on Instagram. Because we met on the set of Jejun. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Lainey.
Right. Oh, okay. So you actually probably already saw me act a little bit.
I saw you act, but I had no idea that you were an influencer.
Right.
Which was kind of crazy. I don't know. Yeah.
Was that a narrative project?
It was a narrative.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, that's so interesting because I met Bryan first and then I met you, Emily.
Yeah.
So the way I met Bryan is super random. My roommate Jason came from a screening of Bryan's previous film, which is Love Locked. And he came home, he said, wow, that was a great fucking film. Tim, you need to see it. I have a producing background. I'm always looking for up-and-coming directors to work with. And, Jason sent me the link and I watched it. I was just mind blown. I was like, okay, I need to talk to this guy. Bryan Lee, he's on my hit list.
Hit list.
Out of nowhere, the very next day, a mutual friend of ours, he's like, yo, I know this guy, Bryan. Tim, I know you're a producer. I need to connect you with him. He's really talented.
I also known a lot about you, man. I know we never actually met up before, but you have a social media presence, you know what I mean? Within our film school community. So I've always known about your existence.
Oh, local influencer.
Yeah, that's for real. And then when we met up, I was like, oh shit, this is sick. I finally got to meet the guy. And we just started talking, and we were really just talking about Love Locked. And then that was when I think you were asking to see a script that I wrote, which is Empathy Man, which I kind of asked Jason to help out with already. I sent you the script, you read it, and you were like, I want to be a part of this. And I was like, let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
It was pretty much love at first sight.
Yeah, pretty much.
We hugged each other we're like, let's work on it. So I'll produce it. And then first thing we're like, okay, casting, because you've got this really powerful script. Can you give us a rundown of what the script is about?
To keep it short, I guess, it's basically about a woman who fears losing her family, and she's never experienced grief before, and she wants the help of a very useless superhero in this universe to help her numb herself to the grief. And I thought that was like a pretty funny concept, but it also kind of effectively sort of expressed how I was feeling. You know, I was walking around the mall with like my family and stuff, and I was just thinking like, you know, this is so nice right now. It's a nice moment. But it also saddened me a little bit knowing that this is not something that will last forever. I had just finished reading like a short story collection, and so I was in a writer's state of mind. And I took that fear and I started like exploring it, because I feel like my stories, they tend to be more powerful when it's based on something I'm scared of. You know what I mean? Like Lovelock was the fear of never finding your soulmate or never finding someone to share your life with. Empathy Man is a fear of losing someone that you have that connection with. You know what I mean? So I think that's what really drove the story. And I've always been a huge like superhero nerd in a way.
Right.
Like I love superhero movies, and I also love subverting genres. I love like making fun of things that already exist, kind of. And so I wanted to make it look kind of like almost like a Hollywood movie, but I wanted to, you know, kind of like fuck it up a little bit, make it more interesting. And not that like normal.
Quirky.
I mean,
Quirky, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I just knew, like, upon reading the script, that it's going to be a great film. Because I'm a big believer that if a director is very hands-on with their film, like they're editing it themselves and they're super visual and they really care about their film from the way they talk, it's going to be a great film. And you already had like Lovelock to back it up, which is honestly one of the best student films I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you, man.
Made with only $2,000, and it looked like a $20,000 short film.
Just thank you so much for saying that. But of course, this was something that I needed the support of so many of my friends and stuff. I'm so blessed to be able to work with so many amazing people. Lovelock was also me working with so many amazing people.
Had a very successful festival run
Yeah,
this past few months. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And then back to Empathy Man, there were two main characters that we needed to cast for. One was a superhero. One was Emily, who is the main girl who's lost, about to lose her grandma. And it was such a hard process finding Emily. We tried everything we could. We went backstage. We looked for referrals. Just the right Emily, we just never came along for like weeks. We were troubled. We were doing everything we can, but we just can't find the right Emily because the role is so hard to play. Why is the role Emily so hard to play?
For me, this character is like, I needed to find someone who was very conflicted within themselves.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to like find someone who's able to execute that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess in the sense that it's very easy to show like an emotion on the surface. Anyone can do it. We do it on a daily basis. But I wanted to find someone who was able to seem all right, but not actually be all right on the inside.
Yeah.
And I think that subtlety is very hard to nail down.
And you're like, this girl is fucked up, so she's perfect.
Dude, yes.
I'm just joking.
How did you know?
And the sides we picked for the audition tapes, it required a lot of range. I remember we picked one where he was first talking to Empathy Man, and then one towards the climax where he's full on breaking down.
Yeah.
So to see that range from the actor, it was just like they were good. There were like a lot of decent tapes.
Oh, yes.
None of them felt right.
Yeah.
And then one night I was like, who should we reach out to? And I remembered there's this YouTuber named Not Even Emily. And I was like, oh, I bet she can act. I bet she's an actress, because a lot of like people who do skits, oh, your skits are amazing. And I just knew you could act, but I didn't know you were actually trying to pursue acting at the time. Yeah.
Oh, wow, you really went out on a limb then.
Yeah,
Like on the chance that I could actually act.
I knew you
well.
could act, because in your skits I've seen you cry. And that's not a great indicator of like whether someone can act. So I reached out to you on Instagram, cold reach out. I was like, hey, I think I sent you Lovelocked, right?
You did, actually, and I wanted to talk about that. That was another big reason why I was like, oh, I want to work with these people. Because I watched your film, and I was like, this is really good. Like, this is really good. And then when you sent me the script, it was like one of those things where I was like, oh, if I don't get this part, like, I'll actually be like bummed about it. Like, I'll be like upset. Do you know what I mean?
There are those scripts, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, I really hope that like I can be a part of this, like, sort of thing. Because I was like, oh, this would just be so cool. And it was also, like I was talking to you guys earlier, like, I want to take roles that, like, I'm able to showcase my skills and, like, push myself a bit more. And I felt that, like, this would have been, like, a good opportunity. So I was really like, yes, I'm going to audition, and, like, I really hope I got it. You know what I mean?
Okay, Bryan, first reaction upon seeing Emily's tape.
Dude, I was blown away. Like, genuinely, I was blown away. Like, because the way you said about my script, it was how I felt watching your tape. I was like, damn, if we don't get her, like, I would be very bummed out. Like, because it was just insane. Like, you just brought something to the table, and it felt so like emotional. You showed me something about the character that I didn't know myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like, after you auditioned, I was like, I was redrafting it. You know, I was like, shit, like, you brought a new flavor to the character, and I was like, I gotta implement that somehow.
I think everyone who auditioned brings in their perspective on the script.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because you have a vision of like how this person should act, but when something new comes in, it works so well. I think that's what happened. You know, the first person I showed is my mom. Show my mom, show my sister, and they're like, you have to cast her. Like I was like, am I being objective, or is Emily? Did I just knew Emily off YouTube?
Right.
And they're like, no, like we don't know Emily, but she's amazing, and you need to cast her.
It's funny you said that because I showed the tape to my sister too. Because I was also like thinking like, am I being a little bit like biased and stuff? I didn't know you were like a TikTok star, I guess. Like I literally didn't know until like when we started production on Empathy Man. But Tim told me about like how he knew you from YouTube, and I was like, okay, I want to make sure this doesn't cloud my judgment at all.
Right.
So I sent it to my sister, and my sister was like, she's amazing, like cast her. So.
Thank you. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Emily's also a full-time nurse.
Yeah.
You're very busy.
I try to carry myself in a professional way.
I could look back in the emails, and I remember you saying like, I actually can't send in the tape tonight because I'm actually on shift. But like the next day, my roommate's not home. Is it cool if I just like read the lines to her? So you actually read the lines with yourself.
I think for one of the tapes, because I think you had me do the like less emotionally intensive tape first, and then you asked me to do the other scene. I think the other scene I did do with my roommate, but I feel like the first one I might have just read with myself.
Right.
Yeah, well, when I have to read by myself, basically I just memorize all of my lines and then try to time my delivery so that I can still edit myself like the response and still make it sound natural. And since I do skits where I'm talking to myself literally all the time, like it's not actually like as hard, but obviously it's like better when you have a reader with you, so you can like have, you know, appropriate like facial expression and like responsiveness in your body language and things like that.
I'm still mind blown by how many things you do and how well you balance everything you do. What are you balancing?
Okay.
What are the things on your plate?
I mean, obviously full-time nurse, right? I do TikTok. To be fair, I post on TikTok like once every 1 or 2 months, and I just like spam post a bunch. And then my YouTube channel, I try to be consistent with it, like posting every other week. And obviously with my YouTube, like I write everything, I act everything, and I edit everything. And then like with acting, like keeping up with like auditioning and like doing gigs like on my days off, like from nursing and stuff like that.
Wow. You said you wanted to be an actress since very young.
Since very young,
Right.
yeah. Like I always knew that's what I wanted to do, but for a very long time it was like, oh, it was just a pipe dream though. Like if people were to ask me like, oh, if you could be anything in the world, then I would be like, oh, I would like be an actress. But I would speak of it in a way of like, oh, that would be like in like a fantasy world. You know what I mean? Like I never actually thought that I would like pursue it, honestly. Because I thought like, it's only been up until recently that there's been like this boom in like Asian representation in mainstream media.
Right.
So for the longest time when I was growing up, I was thinking like, oh, I would love to be an actress. Like that's something I would always want to do, but I don't think it's possible for me, you know?
Were your parents supportive?
Yeah, no, but I understand, like, obviously, especially back then, like, in terms of stability, like, acting, and even now, you know, even for the most, like, privileged person there is, like, acting is still not, like, quite, you know, a stable career, especially when you're first starting out, so I can understand why my parents were, like, you know, they want stability for their child, and maybe for them, like, not to, like, be living in a cardboard box, understandable, right? So they definitely pushed me, to, you know, to, like, be in the medical field and like this and that. And I like nursing. I enjoy being a nurse. I think it's a great job, but it's not like my passion or like my dream per se. You know?
Right. So during school, before you became a full-time nurse,
Yeah.
you were balancing school.
Yeah,
Content
so
creation.
basically during that time during school, I wasn't auditioning for anything. I wanted to be like a theater minor,
Yeah.
but that was just absolutely not plausible.
Yeah.
That was going to be way too much on my plate. Like you know, like so much on my plate, it's like overflowing onto the table. You know what I mean? Like it's just not possible. So instead, I was like, let me focus on my YouTube channel, because for my YouTube channel for me was like my way to still be in the entertainment industry and like entertain people and be creative without like moving to Hollywood and like, you know what I mean? And like kind of like chasing this like far-fetched dream that I had, right? So basically I was studying during the year, and nursing school, it didn't allow me to do anything else other than study. But then during summer break and during winter break, I would film and write like 20 videos, film them all during that break, and then just schedule them to post throughout the year. So I was still being an active YouTuber while I was studying.
Yeah, so how do you keep up with the trend? Because a lot of your videos, are they on the trend?
I had to come up with, it's called like evergreen content basically. So it doesn't follow a trend. So say like something like big happens in the media, like, I don't know, like Kim Kardashian, like this or that. Like I don't make videos about that because no one cares about that shit like 2 days later, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the life cycle of things that are relevant in mainstream media can be like very, very fast, you know? So instead I was making videos about things that are like relatable at like any point in time, like things about dating, things about tropes that we've seen in movies and TV, like things that like it wouldn't really matter like when it's released because it will be interesting to watch no matter when it's released, you know.
Wow, that's
you have to be like strategic, and it does give you a little less room to grow a little, kind of, because hopping on trends and talking about things that are relevant in that moment are like obviously a very good way to like gain viewers like very quickly, like talking about scandals or talking about like, you know, things like that. But it was just not feasible for me. So yeah.
That's crazy. Do you know anyone else who does that? Who records video during the break, like 20 of them, and then post throughout the semester?
No, but I also don't talk to a lot of influencers. I don't really have very many influencer friends. I don't like collab with people or anything. I only collab with myself and talk to myself. So
Yeah, I know people who do that for short form, which makes sense. They like record like 20 TikToks in a day and then post throughout.
That's also what I do, except I don't post throughout. I just post them all within the span of like 30 minutes, and everyone's like, oh my God.
And all that in mind, did you have the goal of like eventually leveraging your platform to go into acting?
I kind of view more so my YouTube channel as a place for like me showing off like my acting a little bit more. I mean, it's just easier to do like on a longer like media rather than a TikTok. It's like how much range can you really show when it's like a comedic TikTok like sketch? Yeah, I think I always wanted to use my YouTube as like, and that's another reason why I chose like kind of like the sketch format, because the sketch format is a little bit like outdated. Like I think some people would look at it and think like it's too old school or that it's cringe or like something like that. But for me, like it's my way of like keeping like practicing like my writing skills and like keeping that muscle trained, you know what I mean? And some people might not see it as like, oh, true acting, because it's just like comedic sketches and this and that. But it's still like my way of like practicing that, you know, by myself alone in my basement. But, you know, I mean, it kind of worked in a way because you reached out to me for that reason. And now we're promoting this film and, you know.
Were your parents supportive of your YouTube channel?
I think so, because it wasn't interfering with like my life decision to be a nurse and stuff like that. Like I think they were like, okay, you can have your little this or that because you're like still like studying and stuff. And I don't want to make my parents sound like they're like so like, you know, this or that, because like they just want what's best for me, you know? And I think they were more supportive of it when they saw that people actually were watching, and I was getting like nominated for things and, you know, stuff like that. Whoa. So I think they became more like proud and like, wow, like she's actually like being successful at this, you know, and like with the sponsorships and like things like that, they're like, wow, like she's making money off of this as well.
Do you find it hard to balance being a full-time nurse and content creation? And how do you balance that?
For me, no, because I think that if I had days off from nursing and I just had nothing to do, that would drive me crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I need to be creative. Like I need to be doing something. So for me, it's not a burden. It's like I need to do this or I will not feel like happy in my life. You know what I mean?
Because then we're also bringing acting, which is your true passion, into the equation. How do you balance that?
I don't know how else to say it other than like I just do. Like I just like think to myself, I have to make this work if I want to be successful.
What's your week to week like? Like, especially during time you were auditioning for Empathy Man. Like,
Yeah.
how many other movies were you auditioning for?
Honestly, like I was just applying to everything, like on the casting websites, like anything that was like Asian female, I was like, you know, I was like, yes, 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 yes. I mean, I can't say like an exact like number, but like on all my off days, like I would have designated like time, like, okay, I'm gonna like apply for auditions for like from this time to this time. I'm gonna write a new YouTube video from this time to this time. I'm gonna edit my other YouTube video from this time to this time. Like I just have to like be very disciplined, you know?
That's crazy.
What's it like meeting your fans in person? Like, cause I can't even imagine that, like how it feels, you know?
I mean, most of the time I'm very grateful and I like, you know, I like it and not in a way of like, oh, I guess I'm really famous or something like that. But just the fact that I was like, oh, you watch my stuff, like makes it feel more, because sometimes like when I'm looking at my TikTok or my YouTube channel, I see the numbers and I'm like, it's not like quite registering. And sometimes I forget that like people actually like know who I am, you know?
Yeah, have you ever seen like visualizations of like 100,000 people in a stadium? It's a lot of people. If you have 100,000 followers on Instagram,
Yeah.
like I feel like people like diminish how much
Yeah.
that actually means. Yeah.
And I honestly, I find myself doing that because I'll look at my TikTok and be like, oh, I have 1.3 million followers, but there's people who have like 25 million followers. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I guess I don't really actually have that much. But then I remember, wait, 1 million people is like a lot of people still, you know?
Yeah.
Even though I'm like comparing myself to like Charlie D'Amelio and like Jojo Siwa, whatever, you know, who like obviously like have like small empires.
I remember after the Empathy Men screening, we were walking to the Thai restaurant and a random girl with her mom, she stopped us. She was like, I love you. Do you think a lot of people like know you by face, but not your name?
Yeah, I do get that. Sometimes I get that on sets a lot. They're like, I swear to God, you look so familiar. Like, what school did you go to? Like, this or that. And then I'm kind of like, oh, well, you know, like I am like on social media a little bit, like this or that. And it makes me like shy, you know?
Wow. Like once again, like I had no idea how big you really were, like how like your reach is. Like you're right, like you're not Charlie D'Amelio, but
Right,
you're still like big, you know what I mean? And also like I have friends like who text me sometimes and they send me a screenshot of like your tweet or something which went viral and then they'd be like, isn't this your friend? And I'm
Isn't
like,
this your
oh
friend?
shit, yeah, it is. And then like I remember when we sort of like posted the I think it was the first rehearsal for Empathy Man. We had Rickon on the call, we had you on the call, and we I had people replying to my story and being like, oh my God, you're working with Emily? And I'm like,
Same.
yeah, I am. And like I didn't, once
Yeah,
again, I didn't know
you're
how
like,
much
so?
reach she had. Yeah, I was like, yeah, she's cool.
Right. Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah. So it's
I think
crazy.
you're like the Ryan Higa of,
That's a big compliment.
Ryan Hugo. Yeah.
I think after Ryan Higa fell off. I'm sorry, Ryan Higa. But you stopped posting videos.
He's posting on Twitter. We actually follow each other on Twitter. It's like a
God.
big like honor to me.
Dude, I love Ryan Hugo. Like I literally
He
that guy's one of my-
influenced
yeah.
like a whole.
He influenced
yeah.
everyone. And I would disagree
the
with you.
GOAT.
I don't think he ever fell off. I think
He just switched.
his content was just way too good for the algorithm because in the sense that he would spend so much effort, I think, making
His
his videos.
production quality is insane.
Like if you read his scripts and stuff, they take like months of planning and like writing and stuff. It's very,
Right.
very clever content. But unfortunately, it's like, you know, people get more views just by like being like on a podcast or something like that. So I guess
Right.
he started thinking and he's like, okay, I can spend this much time making one video or I can start streaming on Twitch, which like would
Right.
get me the more viewers. So
When
it's
did
like-
you start your YouTube channel, Emily?
7 years ago or something
Yeah,
like that.
so I think-
But I wasn't posting on it though until Vine met its demise.
And that's when.
2016 or
So
17.
those are still like early days of YouTube, technically. So I feel like you and Ryan Higa, like, you guys are like the early builders, the pathfinders. Of
I don't think me and Ryan Higa. I think he's like more than me. I would say. I don't want to be like compare myself to Ryan Higa.
Like you watch the YouTube nowadays, a lot of YouTube videos don't feel like YouTube videos. They're just, you know, it's never a person talking to the camera being funny in sketches. I think.
Yeah, I will say that, and that's why I sometimes think that my content format is maybe considered a little bit outdated. Not that it really matters to me. Like, I'm still gonna make it that way because I think it's fun and I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the sketches and stuff like that, that was like more like 2000s. And, you know, obviously we're in like 2022s now, so it's more like video essays and commentary and things like that. And I like doing that stuff too, but like right now, I feel like more like educational things are like trending a little bit more. But I don't feel like doing that. I'm not an educator. Like I just like doing my lighthearted like comedy videos.
With a shitty webcam.
With a very bad camera that is out of focus at least 65% of the time.
Why?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think it's just pure laziness, to be honest. I need to get a new camera. But I feel like when I get a new camera, some of my viewers are gonna be like, "Oh, I miss when your face was blurry for like 3/4 of the video."
It's part of your identity. It's very authentic to yourself.
I think that's another thing. Shitty quality is very authentic to myself now. But I think some people find it charming or something.
Yeah.
I think some people think that it's like, oh, like I forget what someone said. They were like, oh, like Emily doesn't need like high production quality. They were basically like, oh, Emily doesn't need like good videos. Like she just like the content itself is good, but like she doesn't need like a proper set and like.
Yeah, you have one of the most like attached fan base. They just love you for you, you know.
I'm very lucky. I feel like I like don't. My followers are very like nice to me, you know, like make me feel nice.
Or maybe they're just falling for the camera quality because that's just
right. Yeah.
That should be the new trend.
Right. They're like, I'm tired of seeing really good quality videos. Like, I need to see Emily's videos for a break.
To refresh my eye.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, to lower my expectations.
To lower my expectations. Right.
Obviously kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the low. Like, I mean, PewDiePie is like was the biggest YouTuber of all time at one point, and his camera was still like 480p, and that's really endearing. Like,
maybe there is something about it that's just like.
He eventually changed the better camera.
For sure. Yeah.
I remember talking to Stephen He, shout out Stephen He, and he's a big camera nerd. So he has his own red cameras, red Komodos that he's currently using now, but he had this theory that like the worse the camera quality, the funnier it is.
Yeah.
Something about that, which is like I can totally see that being true.
And I think my videos like probably have a very like homemade quality, probably because they're made in my home.
In the basement.
Yes, amazing.
Right. Yeah. And I think some people like that. They think it makes me like I don't know, like seem more like down to earth or something.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Which is all very strategical, and I do that on purpose, though I seem more down to earth and nice and relatable, even though I'm a raging bitch in real life, which you both know, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Such a bitch to work with, to be honest.
Right, yeah, diva on set.
Absolutely. Always asking for that seltzer water.
Always asking for cucumber water.
Talking about set, okay, like this is the first time that I've seen an actress like intentionally detach themselves from the set to go to the corner of the house, cry it out, and then start acting. What's that process? Like, where'd you learn that?
Isn't that a normal thing for actors to do, right?
But I think you do it to like an extreme. Like, it's so
really?
obvious that you're trying to detach yourself from the set.
That's what works for me. I think it's much easier for me to like get into that mindset than to just all of a sudden turn it on.
What's going through your head? How do you get into character?
For this particular role, a lot of it was like I made like a playlist. A lot of times, whenever I'm the lead, you know, I don't do it for just like being like Chinese girl number 4, like in the background. Right? But,
what's on the playlist? Like Playboy Cardi?
Like, well, that's the thing. It depends on the character I'm playing.
Yeah.
So like for Emma, I did a lot of songs that were like sad, obviously about loss, about like that would put me into a specific mood where it's like I feel like shit, you know.
What? You made a playlist and you never showed us? Send that shit ASAP. I want to hear it.
I made a playlist called Emma, and I was listening to it like on the way to set when we were on the bus, like.
Oh, that's what you were listening.
That's what I was listening to.
I thought you were just some cool girl.
Just some cool girl, just not talking to anyone on purpose.
She's always grinding.
Right.
No matter what.
And I also like will write like diary entries as my character, and especially since even though this part wasn't like necessarily like talked about or it wasn't so like overt in the film, but like I was looking up like what makes a good lawyer, what type of poise like should a lawyer have, like how do they act, you know, and like being just very like methodical in that,
Wow.
and like just doing a bit of like research beforehand and things like that. You know, just to make sure that like I was, I don't know, just like trying my best. You
So
know,
you do all this preparation work, but I bet it's different on set when the pressure's there. You gotta row.
oh yeah, like I definitely get nervous, like especially, I think still being like obviously like a new actor in the way of like professionally like on a set with like other people who like know a lot about film, like went to school for it. Like obviously like there's a sense of like, oh, like I want to like impress them in a way, or like it show that like I know what I'm doing and like can still be good despite like not going to school for acting and like really like not having been like in this realm. I mean, I was in the healthcare world, you know, that's literally like extremely different. And like kind of like feeling that need to like prove myself. So I like was just like very dedicated, I suppose, and especially because I really liked your script so much, and like I like saw your previous film, and I was like, this guy's like good, so I need to like
Thank you so
be
much.
good, you know.
And also, like, can I just say that, like, as a writer director, like, I just love it when my cast like really put themselves into the character and really do the work and like prepare. Like, it's just honestly, it's the biggest honor to have another extremely talented human being sort of put in their effort and time. Like when Anna
Behind
was
the scenes too.
Huh?
Behind the scenes, we
Behind
don't even
the
know about it.
Yeah, that
until
nobody
now.
knows about. Yeah, like Anna from WLab'ing, she played my like one of my lead people, and you know she would like she posted on her stories like she was reading my script, underlining stuff, and like you know when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, damn, like what did I do to deserve this? You know, what I mean? Like it's the best feeling, and like same with
That they care.
Yeah, and like same with like you know camera team like PD, like it's just such an honor to like see people do that. So when I hear about your process and like making a playlist, like it really warms my heart, and like,
Oh.
yeah, it's like it's really nice to hear.
Yeah. This production, it went smoothly, but there were so many challenges we have to overcome.
Oh yeah,
The very first thing, sound mixer had to drop.
yeah.
Last minute.
Unfortunately,
They were in the hospital. And then literally call up my friend Gavin, who is here today producing this podcast. Shout out Gavin,
Shout out.
greatest person ever.
Yeah.
Put up last minute with his all his sound kit. Going all the way from Manhattan to Rockaway.
It's insane.
commute,
Yeah.
It's crazy. Brian, take us through the production.
The production process,
Yeah,
like pre-production or what? Like everything?
I'm mostly interested in the production.
Just the main production.
I need to reminisce.
Shooting is like, it was like you said, it was very smooth, man. Like I can't really think
It was a
of.
really fun set.
It was a really fun set.
Everyone was so cool.
Everyone was extremely nice.
We like really lucked out.
we lucked out.
And the weather was beautiful.
weather
the
was
weather.
insane.
The weather was so
It was
good.
supposed to rain.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
Oh,
I was checking the phone. I was like, isn't it supposed to rain? Like, aren't we supposed to be kind of fucked up right now? But
Right,
we're not.
no, yeah, are we supposed to be kind of
Yeah.
fucked up right now? We look out the window, it's literally picture perfect gorgeous.
I was like prepared to be depressed, but yeah. But also our hosts like Margie and Rob.
They're the most
Shout out
amazing.
Margie and Rob. You know, we were redesigning the house and stuff, and like they were totally chill with it, and they even gave us like a bagel spread and stuff like that.
So sweet.
Right, in the morning, provided
So
breakfast to
sweet.
everyone.
I know, right? Like they're just the nicest people
They,
ever.
Rob and Margie, they helped us build sandcastles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
They took the time out of their own day to just like give us advice, much needed advice on the art of sandcastle building.
Right. It was like I just realized how hard building a sandcastle was.
I never knew how.
I woke up at 8 to try to build one. It was just it wouldn't stick. It wouldn't stick. Apparently, you have to find really wet sand. And that's the thing because for continuity reasons, it didn't work too well because the tide kept on rising
Yeah.
throughout the shoot. It was like we shot like 6 hours on the beach maybe,
Yeah.
and every hour the position would be changing.
Yeah.
Right.
So the proximity from the sandcastle to the wave, like we
Yeah.
need to rebuild one every an hour or two.
Yeah, but you know, honestly, even with that, it just went so smoothly, and I feel this way about a lot of the sets I do. They feel like I'm dreaming almost.
Yeah.
Like after the set is finished, I think Ricken
Yeah.
told me like it felt like that set never happened. Like it felt like it was all a dream, and that's like a magical feeling, you know. And I remember as the set was coming alive, like when you were getting character, Rickon was getting into costume and everything, and like PD was doing an incredible job at redesigning like the house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just saw my script come to life, and I felt like the most. I don't know if you felt this because
No.
you read the script, but I felt the most insane feeling. Like this is magic. Like this is literally
Right.
magic, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my
No,
life.
I have like such
insane.
a vivid memory actually
Yeah.
of it was me and Misako who plays my
yeah.
grandma,
Yeah.
and we were sitting, or I was sitting, and she was on the bed, and like she had her little like nasal cannula in, like you know, hospice, and you were just like staring at us, and you had this glowing smile.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you were just like, oh my god, like I love filmmaking, like this is so
Yeah.
cool, like I'm like seeing my script come to life, like you were just so happy, it was so
I
cute.
was incredibly happy. Like this is how I knew like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like it's just moments like this, because like filmmaking and like any art form, sometimes it feels hard, sometimes
Of
you doubt
course.
yourself, but it's moments like this, as well as screening your work and seeing everyone's reaction to it, makes it feel like I can endure any pain if it means doing this again.
Yeah.
With the same people, with the same
Right.
amazing talent and everything. After the film was screened and stuff, I
Yeah.
had people like come up to me and be like, I've experienced something like personal, and this film really like touched me, and
Spoke
like
to me.
I think I showed it to someone, they cried almost like watching it, because they could relate it to someone, to something that happened in their own life, and I was like, that's like insane. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like I'm infinitely grateful,
Right.
considering I am like in a way Emily. Like fortunately, I've never experienced something like that. And
But
it's
the
like,
fear is still
But the
there.
fear is still there, and it's just when I see people actually moved by my work and stuff, I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like if I could affect like even a single person to like genuinely affect them, like I think I've done my job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So meaningful.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, and that's how I feel when people like comment like, "Oh, like your YouTube videos like help me when I'm sad," or like I was having a bad day and then I saw that you posted and it made me feel better, like things
Yeah.
like that. Like it honestly, like that. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like why I like
Why you
do
do
it,
this, right?
you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just like
Yeah.
that genuinely like makes me like so happy, you know?
Yeah,
Then I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you before the screening, were
Yeah.
you like really nervous, like how it was gonna be like perceived, and or no, because like it was like people you knew and like your friends you knew they were gonna be like supportive.
Actually, I was nervous. I'm only
Yeah.
human, and
Right.
even though there were a lot of my friends were there, shout out my friends, but and also like the Lovelock team was there too. Actually, a lot of them, and but there was a lot of people there that I never even knew about, and I was surprised. Like, wow, like what did I do to deserve their time? To like
Yeah.
they wanted to come here. I remember it was like a crowded theater. Like everyone was there.
Right.
People had to sit on the stairs and stuff, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's insane. Like I would say like I didn't know actually most of the people there,
Right.
and
Did you promote the screening, or like how did all these people
I think
who
we were just spamming like the link to a lot of our friends.
It
and
was
we-
just our
Oh,
friends,
just
and
spread.
friends brought people.
Friends brought people.
Friends invited
Ah.
our friends.
okay.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
I think I wasn't as nervous as I was screening my first film, Lovelock, because
yeah.
Lovelock, instead of having a theater, we screened it in my studio, which is like, it was, I still remember that night.
Your
weren't
studio
there, Tim.
apartment.
Studio apartment.
Yeah.
Oh, studio apartment, not like the studio. Okay.
Yeah, not the studio. I'm not like that. But it's a studio apartment which I live, and we had like it rigged on a projector, like a tiny projector, and it was so cramped. It was like I would say 50 people actually in a studio, like in
Oh
a
my
really small
gosh.
studio. It was
Yeah.
sweaty, but I was surprised people were like, once again, there were strangers there I never met before. They would still like stand there and watch the movie, and everyone was just waiting to watch what I made, and I felt like
That is
incredible, because like I was nervous at first because I thought it was egotistical for me to like put on a screening, because I always assumed that like who am I to like promote my work and stuff. But that day made me realize like maybe I should start being more open about my work, and because I make a lot of stuff, and I'm starting to find a confidence in myself to start sharing it, and the reception has been way better than I expected. And also like, so when I screened Empty Man, like I kind of like got over that hurdle the first time, so I was like, all right, let's go in for a ride.
Yeah.
But after we screened, I still felt the butterflies. Like I still felt this incredible feeling of like people coming up to me and being like, dude, like amazing work. And I went to present one of my class projects for my old professor for his class. I don't think you've seen it before, Emily, but it was like a animation or something.
Oh, cute.
It's for a documentary class, and there were people in that class. They're younger than me, like they're a grade below, I think. And they would raise their hand. They'd be like, "Oh, dude, I recognize you. I was at the screening." And I was like, "What? Really? Like, that's crazy." And like they were asking me like, I feel like you cope with things using comedy, and it was just weird to hear people interpret my work like that, and it was a huge honor.
Right.
So I was very happy about that. I
But
was like,
one
wow.
thing that everyone talks about your work is you're very niche in your style.
You do have a style.
You approach these very heavy topics.
But that's cool though, and that's like a good thing, I would say.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy about, and first of all, I'm very thankful that people feel like that, and I'm glad. Yeah, I think that's what will separate like my work, I guess. And it's not like I'm trying to be niche. I guess it's just how I see things sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think being an artist just feels so meaningful. What you do, even if it only impacts one or two people, that feeling is, you can't get that from anywhere else, really.
Yeah.
So we have this drive to keep going, to try to be quote unquote successful. What does success mean for us? Like for me, I'm exploring more into the entrepreneurship route with WLab. This is where we're at. We're not on the beach. We're in
Right, yeah, we're not actually on the beach.
we're in a virtual production studio, WLab. Shameless plug. Occupations like ours, I wouldn't even call them occupations. We're just doing what we love, and they're really risky. It's things that don't already have a market. You're trying to find your own market, trying to find your own way through, and try to be able to like survive full time doing what you love, being creative. What's that like from an actor's perspective and a director's perspective?
I feel like I can't really even say because I'm not like pursuing it full time. You know what I mean? I'm doing it like on my off days until I can pursue it full time because I have like nursing and all that stuff. I want to reach a transitional period where I'm finding enough success that I can like make that transition. And I'm sure a lot of people have the notion of like, well, you need to just like jump in head first and do it. That's the only way you're going to find success. And I see that to an extent. But also, obviously, there's a part of me where it's like, I am like privileged and fortunate enough that my parents were able to pay for my school, right? So I feel like I shouldn't. Well, I'm gonna be a nurse for 2 years and then I'm gonna like go on my own way and be an actress. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I should be a nurse for a little bit longer at least. And also, I like it. You know, I like being able to help people and stuff like that.
Right.
So I feel like I can't entirely answer the question because I like didn't dive headfirst into acting, and it's not like how I make my livelihood and stuff like that right now. But I one day like hope for it to be, and I'm making
Can you
actively
visualize that day where you have that opportunity that changes your path completely to acting? What does that day look like? Like,
what I like keep saying to myself in my head is that like it only takes one yes for my life to change. Do you know what I mean? Like it only takes like one person to see potential in me and be like, okay, we're gonna cast you in this new show. Or like one person to be like, I think you have the range. I want you to like be in this movie, So I'm not quite sure like exactly how I visualize it like panning out, but I know it's probably gonna take like luck.
wow.
And like right place, right time, just like meeting the right person.
Been so many big breaks recently, especially within the Asian API community. Everything Everywhere All at Once, Beef, so many shows on Netflix. Took these B-listers all the way up to the A-list.
Oh, 100%.
And this is a really good trend I'm seeing.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like my goals with acting, like I just want to be a part of stories that resonate with people and maybe even give people like a sense of like escapism for a little bit. Like even, that's how I feel with my YouTube videos and stuff too.
Yeah.
I actually, being famous doesn't really appeal to me very much. I don't really want to be like a huge like Hollywood superstar, like, always on the red carpet, Met Gala, like people care about who I'm dating and like things like that. Like that is actually rather unattractive to me.
Right, that's great, because we're talking about the definition of success, and I feel like
like
lot
to
of
me
people's
success
definition-
doesn't mean that.
Right,
And like
right,
I don't necessarily like want to like win an Oscar or like get critical acclaim. Like I want to be good at what I do, and I would like to have people be moved by the stories that I help make come alive and stuff like that.
Do you think you're successful right now?
I would say that I'm proud of myself, but I wouldn't say that I've reached the point. I still have like bigger goals,
What are those goals?
Just making that transition from, or I don't even know if I want to call it a transition, because I really do like making my YouTube videos so much. It's not like I'm only using my YouTube as a segue into the traditional entertainment industry. It's not like, oh, as soon as I get my big break, like I'm ditching all my YouTube followers and I'm not going to care about making videos anymore. That's not how I see it at all. Like I genuinely love making YouTube videos and like writing and acting like on my own accord and stuff. I mean, if I didn't like it, then I wouldn't do it, because like I'm a full-time nurse and like I could use my off days to just be off, But I would just want to also get a solid footing in the traditional entertainment industry too. As well as like still, if I have time, I hope to like still like upload videos and stuff like that. The only thing that does make me nervous about that is like, I think a lot of the times when people get more, because right now I make videos for my audience, right? So obviously those people, and you know, you obviously like gain subscribers and stuff like that, but mainly I'm making videos like for my audience who like knows who I am and likes what I put out. I do have like this like looming anxiety for like the hypothetical situation that like I do gain a footing in like the traditional entertainment industry, and then people who don't know who I am like will see that I was like a YouTuber too, and then look at my stuff and be like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, this is the girl that is like trying to be an actor. Like, they will think I'm not
Do you
good.
think be a content creator, or especially YouTuber, gives that a bad stigma in the traditional Hollywood?
I think it can.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the times, like when we see like, no hate to like Addison Rae, I'm just using this as an example because this is what people talk about, right? Like when she signed that like big like multi-movie deal with Netflix, like the public's reaction was like, she's like an influencer, like she needs to stick to like doing her little dances and like lip syncing and stuff like that. I hope that for me, that I'm able to just prove myself and that I'm able to like get casted because I'm actually, they think I'm good. And honestly, I think that's the privilege almost of being like kind of like not like a huge like mega superstar, is like, I don't think anyone's gonna cast me thinking like I'm talking like Netflix, Hulu, like people like that. I don't think anyone's gonna cast me being like, oh, this girl is gonna like put us on the market. You know, like I'm not that big that like I don't think like big production companies are going to be like, this is going to be a smart strategical move for us to like, because like I was saying,
they would cast you for your talent.
They would cast me for, I'm hoping that they would cast me for my talent and not like for like the name recognition, because to be honest, I don't think I have like the name recognition that like most of these like super big like TikTok or YouTube people have, you know? And that's not even me trying to be humble. I think that's just factual.
So again, to that topic of what's that goal that you would feel you've kind of made it as where you want to be?
That's a
Is
good
that like a particular role? Maybe
So
when
I
you're there,
actually,
you'll know, right?
Or we were kind of talking about this actually. I don't really have like a structured endpoint. I think that I just want to like keep improving and keep improving and keep improving, and then I'll know that I've met my goal when I just have like a certain sense of fulfillment. Do you know what I mean? Because I was telling you, like when people have a rigid goal for themselves of like I want to win a Golden Globe or I want to win an Oscar, like this or that. If they don't reach that, then they have a sense of failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, like instead of having like a structured, rigid goal, that gives so much room for like feeling like I've failed in some way if I don't reach it, because it's very plausible that I wouldn't win an Oscar. You know what I mean? That like instead I would just compare myself to how I was in the past instead of like trying to reach a goal for the future, you know, being like, I'm better than I was yesterday, as opposed to like, oh, I need to reach, you know, this, you know, goal like within the next however many years.
I think you should always be fulfilled and happy. I feel that.
That would be ideal.
You should, like I have my own goals, but even if I don't reach them, I know I'll be happy. I'll be fulfilled. I think as long as I don't feel any regret on my deathbed, that's my definition.
That's how I feel. I don't want any regret.
So can I just say that like the Golden Globe and like the Oscars and a lot of these things are things that we can't like control as well.
No,
Fame and acclaim and like legacy, all of these things are given to us by other people. You know what I mean? Like we can't guarantee these things in our lives. So I feel like if you kind of make that your life purpose, you're kind of just making a gamble that you're probably gonna lose. You know what I mean? Like so.
They're so statistically improbable.
Yeah, I mean they're not just improbable, but they're also just like they're not.
Way more goes into it than talent.
It's an object.
It's really not up to you whether you become famous or not. Like fame by definition.
It's outside of your control.
Yeah, it's out of your control. So
public
like
perception.
And I think that's also something that I always remind myself, and like I always try to be grounded no matter in everything I do. I always stay grounded because I know that everything I have right now could be taken away in a second. You know what I mean? Like the things I have right now, a lot of times I worked for them, but also it's also a mixture of like working hard and a mixture of like circumstance and like the fortunate connections I have and relationships I have. You know what I mean? So I always try to stay grounded no matter what. Like, 'cause, like, I know that I won't be here without a lot of people. I won't be here without my parents for paying my tuition, you know, stuff like that.
For
So,
sure.
Yeah, I think that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, even during the pre-production of Empathy, man, there were so many things that fell through, or just things that didn't go our way, and we had to quickly learn that, hey, let's not have this big expectation,
Yeah.
and not have our happiness dependent on this thing happening.
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
Go, what's that thing that Bruce Lee says? Be like
Be like
water.
Water
Uh-huh.
can flow
Be like
or it can
water, yeah.
crash.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. How about you, Brian? As from trying to be a film director's perspective,
Yeah.
how do you define that?
Success?
Yeah.
Well, for starters, on a very pragmatic level, I just want to make a living doing what I genuinely love. I want to be able to support myself because I'm not there yet. I'm a film student. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I like,
Yeah, you don't have to be there yet. You're like a baby.
I'm literally a baby. Like, I made money off my work before, like off my music. Like, I make music too. But it's nowhere near the amount I need to like support myself. So I think I share the same sentiment as you, Tim. Like, I just want to die with no regrets, you know? Like, what that means for me is I want to express myself every day. I want to be creative. I want to share what I make with people. I want to be genuine with myself, and I want to just try new things, man. Like, I'm a very curious person by nature, so I just want to explore everything, and I want to try to do as much as I can. I want to make as much shit as I can. Yeah, by definition, my idea of success is living with no regrets, and you know that by definition is living. You know,
I love that about creative, spontaneous people. We all have very similar views on how to live life, and this is why we're taking on such unconventional paths against the current of society.
Yeah.
Wants us to do, or our parents wants us to do. Did your parents support you going to film school?
Yeah, actually, because my dad is like the most supportive guy ever, and he like ever since I was little, like I'm pretty sure my love of movies came from my dad, like because he would do family movie nights and stuff. Like I still remember when he put on Borat and like Wolf of Wall Street, and my mom would get so.
You watched Wolf of Wall Street as a family.
No,
How old were you when you watched
I
Wolf
was
of Wall?
like 12, and my mom like made it stop. Like she was like, we were not watching this after I think it was DiCaprio like smoked crack off of someone's ass.
Valid.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but like my dad definitely loves movies. Like he would always watch movies. He would show me like so many TV shows and stuff like that, and we would always watch stuff at night as a family. And so he was always supportive. And in fact, every time I doubt myself, he's the guy who would always be like, "Yo, relax. Like you got this. Like I know you got this. You need to do this because I know you very well, and I know that you will do well if you keep going this path. And I know for a fact that you won't do well if you try being like a CS student or something, which is like really weird, right? Like usually it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And my dad is
Yeah.
like totally like the polar opposite. Like I feel like I'm supposed to be the dad, and my dad's like the artsy kid. And my mom, on the other hand, she used to be an actress in Malaysia.
Oh,
So she has like a
that's
little bit of
amazing.
like show business in her a little bit, and
Right.
like every time we watch like a TV show or something, she would like always like point out to me like, look at the people in the background, like, you know, because like when the good guy is fighting the bad guy, a lot of times the background bad people, they're not doing anything, they're just like dancing around. My mom would always point it out like, look at them, like they're not doing shit, and I was like,
Right.
yeah. And so like my mom was like very aware, and like I feel like my mom has a good grasp on like entertainment stuff. But ironically, even though she used to be the one in the industry a little bit for a brief moment of time, she is the person who's a little more against it, like a little bit
Wow.
like, and you know she's not against it because of her own personal feelings. She's against it because she wants to make sure I don't feel anxious. You know, like she wants to
Yeah.
make sure that
She
I'm
does-
not worried about going the artsy path. Like she knows that I think a lot, and she's like always like,
Yeah.
you know, you got to take it easy. Like
Yeah.
life isn't that like serious. Like you're just have fun with it.
and perhaps when she chose to go on the artsy path, she didn't want you to feel that anxiety that she
Yeah,
felt.
maybe.
Yeah, she quit the artsy path because of her like I guess I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. I think most of it was because she met my dad and like she was like, yeah, like I'm just chill now. Like I don't know. I always wondered like, okay, if my mom kept going, like I wonder what would happen. You know what I mean? So it's like she is indirectly a huge part of why I want to do this and like I want to live with no regrets. Because I remember when I was younger, I thought like, damn, my mom used to be an actor. That's so cool. But I wonder where she would be if she didn't like
Yeah.
quit. Like so I'm like, every time I like feel sad or whatever, I just think like, nah,
Yeah.
I gotta keep going. Like,
Yeah. I mean, like the way your dad supports you is kind of similar to how my mom supports me. I think she's the person I go to. Shout out, Mama.
Shout out, Mama.
Whenever I'm feeling anxious, because I always like look back and think, why didn't I become an economic, business, or CS major? Because those are things I'm also genuinely interested in too. But my love for film in high school was just too great for me to not go to film school. They weren't fully supportive, right? They were supportive in the way, okay, we'll show you what's out there. So they took my sister and I, the dog, on a road trip from Vancouver all the way down to Vegas. So we went to all the biggest film schools in the States. And then we went up like Nevada, we went to Yellowstone, Washington, and then to New York, and all the way back from Canada. So I visited NYU, USC, Emory, all the biggest film schools you can think of at the time, because I got into photography first. And in the high school, people know me as the photography guy. And then eventually I started making these film projects for my classes, and I just fell in love with doing that. Because I could go, hey, all my friends together, it's just so meaningful to me to make something with all your friends. But my mom was always like, okay, I know you love film. I'm not going to stop you. But if you're going to go to film school, you have to go to the best film schools, NYU or USC. So I had a lot of pressure, because they're also Asian parents. Like, they want you to go to a good school for the prestige. And so their thought, you either go to the best film schools or you stick with economics or CS.
Right.
So I applied to 4 schools, NYU, USC, and then UBC for economics, and then SFU, which is a college in Vancouver, for sociology. And the day I got into NYU it was explosive. I just knew I was going to take on this really weird path to go on film. And then I did it. Going to film school, immediately I realized directing, I love it, but one thing I was really good at is producing, like putting together the project and kind of taking the initiative on a project. And I produced a bunch, and then met you, Bryan. So like, I think we all have this, like, in a way, similar story of like chasing after our passions. Didn't matter like who supported us, who didn't. We all end up doing this. I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and can I just say, like, you are an incredible producer, man.
Thank
like,
you so much.
For real. Like, I always talk about you with people, and I'm always like, dude, Tim knows what's up. Like, you have a good sense of like how to organize these things. So
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
something I really admire about you in general.
Thank you. And it's awesome when you work with people that have like that mutual respect and admiration. It's so inspirational to see you guys do your own work, because after the Empathy Man, we went off and we kept on doing projects on our own, collaborating. You guys even started doing music together, Emily. And talk about that. Talk about your music.
Yeah. Well, I think we were like having like lunch on set or something like that. And you started talking about that you do music, and I was saying like, oh yeah, I post like little covers on my Instagram, but I'm like really shy and I don't like sing in front of people. And I was saying like, I would love to like actually make music and stuff like that, but I'm just like, I'm like too shy, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think I told you that I put one of your songs on my playlist or something like that.
Dude, that was like so funny, because like that, you were like, oh yeah, you're Chinese food cart, right? And I'm like, how did you know that? Because like Chinese food cart has like 3 monthly listeners. And like basically it's like a small, like, it was just like one song that I made with my friend Zane.
Right.
It's so good though.
Thank you so much. Like, yeah, and I made a
welcome.
song with him, and I was really happy with it. I put it out, I promoted it briefly, and then I'm less shy about my film work. I'm more shy about my music. That's why music's always been like secondary art for me. So yeah, when you said that, I was like really, really flattered. And then I think like it was just so cool hearing that you also make music too. And I was like, perfect, let's make a track together and stuff. And I was trying really hard to find a song that you would fit on, and we did Ragdoll, which it's like a dance track. And like, yeah, I heard your voice and I was like, all right, this is gonna sound nice.
Wait, Emily, you listened to Bryan's music before you even knew that was made by Bryan?
Well, I listened. Well, no, I knew that he was gonna be like, we all followed each other on Instagram and stuff like that. And then he posted something on his, it was like one of his like feed posts or something like that. Like I saw it on his Instagram, and then I listened to it, and I was like, oh, like this is good. And I was like, it's so catchy. And then I added it to my playlist. And it was before like I met him ever, like I met you on Laney's set, but like on the Empathy Man set.
It was,
Yeah.
man. It was, when you said that, I was like, oh my God, you are that monthly listener.
You are the
That
monthly
one,
listener.
the only one.
No, yeah. But and that also like it made me think like, wow, like this guy's very multi-talented.
Oh, thank you.
Like he has like an eye for film and like a vision for film, and then he's also very good at like music and stuff like that. I'm like, damn, you
Oh,
know.
thank you so much. I mean, because one of my heroes, like, I mean, a lot of people's hero is Donald Glover, like Childish Gambino. I just love how versatile he is, and
Yes.
I've always admired that, and I try to do that too. Like, I'm trying to do everything and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's
And
crazy. We were actually talking about Childish Gambino on our last podcast with Todd Bryant.
Oh.
He's a creative technologist, and he was like the animation director for one of Childish Gambino's big installations, like one of his final tour concert
Nice.
somewhere, and they had this big white dome, and there was this really interactive, immersive experience. And he did that, so yeah, it's crazy. Childish Gambino,
Yeah.
and NYU grad,
Oh really?
Yeah.
NYU grad.
nice.
He used to be an RA at one of the dorms.
Wait, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there was a video of him like rap battling and stuff in the hallways and stuff.
Oh, really?
glad.
Wow, that's very like
Wow.
inspiring. But yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I love music. When I make music, it's like without an agenda, honestly. Like it's just because film is a very collaborative thing, and it's a long term thing.
Yeah.
I think. But
It takes
music-
so much organization, and it's like if
Yeah.
you want to make a film, like you really have to want to make it because all the moving parts, like if you like, it will just fall apart if you don't care.
It's just a long process.
Very.
And as someone who is always itching to make something, music is a very accessible and very spontaneous thing for me. Like
Yeah.
I can just make a beat. Like if you give me like 15 minutes, I'll make a beat right now. Like you know what I mean? Like because it's like it's a way to let out creative energy. And music was also how I met some of my closest friends who you know actually composed for my films, like Jeffrey. Shout out Jeffrey. Music is a very special part of my life, and I think it is. Even though it's my secondary focus, it is still a major part of my life, and it's something that I will always practice and do. Like it's just
Yeah.
so fun. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's how I feel about music too. Like, I really do like singing and playing instruments, and I actually, it was like my New Year's resolution to try and like not be shy and like do it
Yeah.
in front of people.
For sure.
I did fail that resolution, but there's always next year. So yeah, but I know what you mean. Like, even though acting is definitely like my primary focus, like I love music and I love like, you know, singing and like making my little like covers and stuff like that. I'll keep doing that.
Do you guys ever burn out doing directing or acting?
Yes, but not necessarily like due to one thing. I think a lot of the times I burn out because I do like 3 things at once. Like, I'm nursing, and then I have like YouTube sponsorships, and then I have self-tapes, and I have to like do logistical things for like, you know what I mean? Like, if I were to like drop one of those things, I don't think I would get burned out. But there was a period in time where like I was very, very busy, like with obviously like the nursing, and I had like a lot of like projects lined up, which was wonderful and great. But then I was like, damn, you know, like I'm tired.
What do you do to regain the energy?
I just like take a few days off and
What do you do during those free days?
lay in bed and literally just do nothing, you know. And and then I get antsy and I'm like, okay, well, I need to like do something again.
I can't even imagine like, because you're a content creator too, and it's like you have almost an obligation to to make content on a fairly consistent basis.
Sure.
Do you feel that obligation?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I think that almost sometimes I even felt it recently because sometimes I feel like this hasn't been like quite of a thing only up until recently. I'm like, I think I'm making this video just so I have something to upload.
Oof.
You know what I mean? Like I recently made a video where I was like, I think that it's like kind of entertaining. Like it's all right, you know, but it's not something that I'm like proud of. Do you know what I mean? But I think a lot of YouTubers do that. Like, I don't think every single video they're like, oh, I can't wait to show this to my followers. Like, this is like a masterpiece and I work so hard on it, you know? I think a lot of the times it's like, oh, you know, it's another week went by, I have to upload something. Let me upload something. And a lot of the times they just like are like, how do you say, like, they just know that like their followers love them and that like they'll watch anything they upload. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that my followers will watch like, you know, if I upload something, it will get, you know, some amount of views. But I don't like to think that way. Like just be like, well, I'll just upload a video of me blinking into the camera for 16 minutes and people will still watch it. You know, I don't like to do that. I like to like actually post something that I think is funny and post something I think is entertaining. But I found myself recently like being like, oh, I have the apartment to myself. Like I have to like film something and like, but I haven't written anything. So then I just like film something that's like impromptu. And it's like, I think that sometimes a lot of my content is like, if not scripted, like structured. Like I'm reacting to something if I'm not doing the sketches or like something like that, or making a commentary on something. I've also been trying to do videos where I'm more like, it's just me like doing things in a more non-structural way. And I don't know if that like, to me makes the content not as good because there's no structure to it, or if it's just like me being myself. When I think about uploading those types of videos, it makes me a little nervous because it's like, oh, if they don't like this video, then it's literally just like me. Do you know what I mean? Because in my sketches, obviously, like I have some sort of intention with like the topic I'm talking about, and then like I'm playing characters for like literally half of the video, you know? So if they don't like it, it could be like, well, they don't like the subject matter, or they just didn't find the skits like maybe like particularly funny this time. But if I'm just uploading a video that's just like genuinely me talking to the camera or something, then it's like, oh, like they just don't like me.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. It's a really crazy dilemma of like when you're creating work, when you're like conceptualizing work or writing, are you in that pre-production process, are you preparing everything to make something that you enjoy or something that you think others will enjoy? Because if you worry too much about there's something, oh, well, they enjoy it, it doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah,
it feels
I hear
a little
you.
forced. But if you only care about, oh, well, I like this, you might not be considering whether this will even be entertaining.
Right, and I think that's my current issue.
Yeah.
I think that like I think as an influencer, it's only natural to think like, how is the public going to respond to this? How are my followers going to respond to this? Like, you know, is this like, and sometimes I know when that a certain video might not perform as well. And so I strategically plan it to put it in between videos that I think will perform better. So I have a well-performing video, maybe this one like flops a little bit, whatever. And then like the next one is like, will like gain, you know, more traction or this or that sometimes. And I'm sure a lot of YouTubers do that where they're a little bit like strategical with like the way they post things and stuff like that. I mean, and not to say that like when I'm like making my videos that I'm like being like disingenuous or something like that, but just when there's not a structure and it's just me. And that's also another reason why I haven't really done podcasts, because in my head I'm just like, well, who wants to listen to me rambling? You know?
You can ramble all day.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of like making content for yourself or for others, it applies to everything, right? In filmmaking too. Like, Bryan, when you write, what's going through your head? Are you thinking, is this something I will enjoy? Is it something the characters in the story will enjoy? Or are you like, what are you thinking?
I mean, that's like always the most fundamental conflict, I think, for me as a creative. And I've talked with a lot of my like, you know, artist friends as well, and everyone's always dealing with this idea of like, am I making this for me or am I making this for other people? You know what I mean? Because it's really hard to detach that, you know, like the expectation that what other people have for you and stuff like that. And no matter what I write, I've always felt that pressure. Yeah. But I think like, I'm learning to control it, I guess, a lot better. And every time I write something, like, I think there comes a point where when I do write something or when I finish a project or something, I know deep down in my heart if I was actually being genuine. You know, it's like a skill to be able to tell, like, was this something I made for myself or was it something that I made for other people? And one thing that's been helping me as a creative to help absolve that pressure was kind of reminding myself that other people's expectations are things that I can't control, and like I have to imagine that I'm the only person on Earth when I make this project, and it's tough because like, you know, I'd be lying if I say I wasn't writing with people in mind, because I am.
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, of course you have like,
you have an
that's
audience,
inedible. Right? You have to.
Yeah. Even with Empathy Man, we went through 14 drafts.
Probably. Yeah.
Within the month. 2 months.
Insane, yeah.
Even after when Emily read it, we were changing up lines and things.
Yeah. And I also like that was a collaborative thing.
Right.
You know, we would get on meetings and then
talk about
talk about like what things we might want to change and 100%. Stuff like that.
Yeah. one of the biggest things I learned in film school and also from working on creative projects is that you really can't just give in to other people's opinions that quickly. Because I think I'm someone who can feel pressured sometimes by other people's opinions. Like I would automatically assume they're right. You know, they're right, I'm wrong. One of the things I've been learning to get better at is really standing by my original ideas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And one thing I appreciate about you, Tim, is that I feel like you're encouraged. When I worked with you, you were very encouraging and like, I want you to disagree with me.
I love it when you disagree with me.
Yeah.
Remember when we first talking about the script, the
Yeah.
first draft, the second draft?
Yeah.
I was like, this story needs a midpoint. I don't see a midpoint.
Yeah.
Add a midpoint, please.
Yeah.
And then you didn't. Because you're very humble. You're very like, you listen to everyone's opinions. I think that's the bulk of your character. But you have this, like, you have this boundary for yourself. Like, if you knew this is something that you wanted to do and it's correct, you would do it. And it turned out amazing, right? Like, even though it wasn't a traditional structure, Empathy Man.
Yeah, it was, for sure.
Yeah, like, it turned out great. I mean,
It was weird.
I think that's when me as a producer, like, I just trust.
Right.
I just trusted the director.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. And also, like, it's also, you know, whenever I pitch stories to people, one thing I learned was that when people give you feedback, they're really, like, I was pitching the story to a friend, and the friend was like, I would prefer it if you did this, if you did that. And then I was like, hold on, this friend is also an artist, and these are elements I see in his work. So it's like, if you ask for feedback from people, I'm not saying you should always take feedback from people, but you just need to be aware that everyone is writing the story in their own way, and you're the only person who can write it in your own way, and you have to really know what it is that you want and just learn to believe in yourself.
Right.
And even if it doesn't work, at least you were sticking by your own guns. You know,
Yeah.
that's the thing you can control, is like sticking with your own guns as a creative. So
That's crazy. I almost forgot. Like,
yeah.
I told you, right? I love it when you disagree with me.
Yeah, you told me, and I was like, this is good. Yeah, like, I think if you don't disagree with someone in a certain extent, like, you're doing something wrong, I think. Because,
Right.
like, once again, feedback is so important. But it's just like, if I ask for 20 notes, I will get 20 notes back. You know,
No, right.
If I ask for
There's-
feedback from 100 people, I will have 100 different versions of the story.
Exactly.
So what's important is, at the end of the day, only you can determine. And also, what's crazy is that when I finished Love Locked, I thought it was like bad. You know what I mean? Like, I
What?
didn't think it
Why?
was bad. Like, it was just like, I was just like really critical on myself, you know, because I think a lot of
That's
creative people
natural.
kind of relate. Like, you're always hard on your work. You always feel like you can do better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would like always ask for feedback. And when I approach people, I'd be like, tell me what's wrong with this movie. If you ask people like, what's wrong with this movie, they will tell you what's wrong with the movie. You know what I mean? But like, I wouldn't change
expected.
anything. And then once the movie dropped and I was confident in my choice in dropping it, the same people would like come up to me and be like, I love that choice you made. And I'm like, didn't you tell me that? You know what I mean? Like, people will take it at face value. Like, if you stick by your guns and you package yourself in a way, people will take your word for it. You know what I mean? Like, if you stand by it and you say, this is my idea, this is what I think is right, people will automatically think he must be right, or you know what I mean? Like, so
Like,
that's
it's his movie, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Some people.
some people. Of
I'm
course,
not
of
like
course.
that.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, if you
yeah.
think something is right, I need to force you to explain it. and
Oh
then I'll
yeah, I
trust
mean,
you.
I'm generalizing, of course,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
just saying that in most cases, or like in some of
Confidence is
the
key.
things I've experienced, is that I think one of my favorite creators ever is like Tyler the Creator, because he's always talking about how you need to just be yourself. And I think one of the biggest hurdles for why people are afraid to be themselves, because there's always the fear of being rejected, the fear of failing. That you shouldn't be scared of that, you know. And it's way easier said than done. I'm still working through this hurdle, but I'm learning to get better at it. Like, you just have to realize that it's inevitable to like make a mistake. It's inevitable. So you might as well go
Just
out with a
make
bang
it,
and just
yeah.
do it, man. Like, just do it. Take action. And like, once again, feedback is one of the most important things ever. And I'll be a fat liar and hypocrite if I said I never took people's advice and never took feedback. But there is a boundary that you should
Yeah,
learn
you don't want to
set
be
yourself.
too influenced by other people that
Yeah.
you lose yourself in like what you intended to create.
Yeah, like, there's a difference between being a good listener and being like a pushover. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a really big difference.
And there's an art to giving feedback. Initially, when we first started working together and we didn't know each other too well, we would use the sandwich method, right? I love this good, this that, however
Yeah.
this, but overall
Yeah,
it's great.
this,
You know?
yeah.
But then later on, when we got really close and we were really comfortable with each other, I think it was just very efficient to be like, dude, first cut sucks,
Yeah.
but here's why.
Yeah. And when you told me that, I was like, damn. I mean, at least it's honest. Right? Like,
Damn.
and then we started working, but like, you have to be like blunt with each other. And like, I like it when people are blunt with me.
Tough love.
Tough love, yeah, for sure. And I think you need people like that in your life. Just like, otherwise you'll just have a bunch of like yes people, That's like that's not helpful. But I also think like it's a myth, like the movie Whiplash, right? Like the character, like the teacher, like Fletcher, like I don't think that I don't know if people would agree with me. I don't know if y'all would agree with me, but I also feel like that way of giving feedback is also very destructive, like in the sense that
like abusive.
He is abusive, right?
I mean, like you can be blunt, but like you can also be blunt in a way that is productive and constructive, and also not
as opposed to like
demoralizing.
Because I think when you want to give feedback that is straightforward and blunt, like you don't want to destroy that person's self-confidence.
100%.
You know. Because that is not going to be effective.
Yeah, so. it's not like every case you can be blunt with anyone you knew well, but like
Yeah, and I think in order to be blunt with someone like that, you have to have like a certain rapport, and you have to have like a certain mutual respect. Sure. Like obviously, if some stranger just came up to me and was like, "Honestly, your acting kind of sucked," like that, like that would feel very like different to me than if like Bryan was like, "Yo, listen, like you need to step it up." You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
It definitely takes time to build that. And also, I think like what stops me from being a complete asshole when it comes to giving feedback, because I consider myself someone who gives like blunt feedback. Like whenever my friends ask me to read their scripts, I would just tell them like I don't
straight
think
up.
this works. But I always end it on a fairly like motivating note, because I think like everyone's idea has some sort of validity to it. You know what I mean? At the very root of it, there is something there that made them want to execute a movie this way or something. And that's something that you can like kind of appreciate, even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah, even if you don't appreciate the idea, you appreciate them showing the idea.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, even if you don't like someone's concert, you're excited, you're happy to be there for them.
Of course,
so there's always something to be happy about. So you always mention that when you're giving feedback.
Yeah. Would you want to perform music live in the future?
It's like I would, and then like I say that I would, but I am just so shy. Like I can't for some reason.
Right.
I think it's because I was traumatized when so my friends like Emily, like you can sing and you can act, like you should audition for the musical.
You should.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I did.
Okay.
So I auditioned for the musical and it was Into the Woods, right?
Oh my God.
And I got up on stage. First of all, like there was like a pianist up there. I missed my cue. And then I was like, oh, can we start over? And so then we started over. And like, I literally like, it was like someone was like choking me. And like the air was like barely getting out. I felt like I was going to anaphylaxis or something. And I just could not like sing. And it was so pathetic. It was very like bad.
Right.
And I literally left and like went into my car and just like cried because I was like, that was so embarrassing.
Oh no. When did this happen?
In like high school.
Oh, okay.
Because I did the plays and stuff. So like the theater people, like I was in that community, like, but I just didn't do the musicals.
I see.
And I was like, you know what, my friends are right, like, maybe I can do this, like, I like singing, I like acting, like, why don't I just try? And then I did try, and I failed. So I feel like maybe, at least I tried.
I wouldn't even call it failure. I feel like failure is not trying. You succeeded in a very weird way.
So deep.
Okay.
It's not even deep. It's true though. Like
that's a very inspirational way to look at it.
I'm just like a quote website. I just want
a quote website.
You didn't fail. You succeeded.
You should write that into the script, to your next script.
Yes, for sure.
Failure is not trying.
It is
Failure
though.
is
I mean,
not
failure
trying.
is not trying. It is. I mean, I feel like if you try and you fail, it's just you're still succeeding.
I still put myself
it's
out
delayed
there.
success. Delayed success.
Right.
Like you succeeded, but you haven't succeeded completely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next step for Emily?
For me?
Yeah, what's next step? Are we getting to Hollywood?
I mean, honestly, I just have to keep doing what I've been doing, right? Just like auditioning. The next step for me, I think, is to hopefully like have nursing take up less of my time, so that way I have like more of an open schedule for acting endeavors. Or even like I wouldn't even mind like modeling too, like the modeling that I've done, it's like fun and stuff. It's definitely not like my passion or anything, but I think that a lot of the times like getting your foot in the door like in that industry sometimes can also be helpful like for acting. Or it can at the very least be like, hey, maybe I'm like somewhat attractive, so like maybe like cast me in something,
Yeah.
Okay, bet.
Yeah.
Next step for Bryan.
So, I mean, this semester has been kind of like chill because I didn't take a production class from my school. So, but I did make like 2 music videos, each for like less than $100. But I'm
Nice.
happy with how it's looking. I mean, so those will drop soon. One is for a song that I made with a friend, and the other one is for a friend, like just completely like for his own musical universe.
Shut them out.
Shout out Ray Simeon, and that's the project I'm doing for a friend. There's another project I'm doing with my friend Flora. I don't know if I should announce it here, but like I guess like we're starting like a band called Chickpea.
Chickpea.
Yeah, and the music
So
video is almost
cute.
finished, so we'll be announcing that soon. But like it's gonna be really fun. So and also I've just been writing, working on my next project. Some exciting things are happening, I think. But yo, yeah, potentially. But like we gotta like keep down a DL for now, I think, because. but I am excited. At the moment, I'm just writing.
Yeah.
I love writing so much, and I can do it all day. So I'm really excited for the future. Like. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
I honestly, I think that you're a very talented person and like you will like go places.
And likewise.
Places. The bathroom.
The shower.
Yo, damn, Tim, you should start a comedy
my
podcast.
home. Really? You think I'm
Yeah.
funny?
Emily, do you think he passes the comedy test?
The comedy. That's so hard to say. We were talking about like serious stuff this whole time.
Yeah.
I feel like if in a different environment.
What if this
yes.
podcast like changes halfway? Like you have a comedy segment.
Like
I'm joking.
Us talking about
Yeah,
like
yeah.
super serious stuff, and then it just
And it's
cuts
like-
to
yeah,
like.
It's over like knock knock. Who's
No.
there?
How do you guys feel about the space?
This
It's
lab?
very professional. Like
Dude,
it's.
it is.
virtual production.
I mean, I was here when that screen was like this big, and now that
First
I'm here, I'm
prototype.
like, wow, like that's crazy, man. Like,
Virtual production is the future of filmmaking, where you can shoot anywhere, anytime. But it's too inaccessible. Like it's too expensive. Everyone knows what it is because of Mandalorian. However, if it's a future film, people should be able to learn about it and actually use it, right? Directors, producers, production designers, actors. Well, the tech stuff really isn't that scary. We'll simplify it, come in and make your vision come true.
So when we were trying to plan about like how to go about the public release of like Empathy Man and stuff like that, we were like, oh, maybe we could like premiere it at like some sort of small like film festival and like have like other creatives like submit their films as well and this or that. And then the more we started talking about it, we were like, maybe we can make this more of like an opportunity or space for, you know, separate it a little bit from the promotion of Empathy Man and make it more of like a community like intent. And so we basically want to hold this event where up and coming filmmakers can like network together, like filmmakers, actors, producers, like everyone like working in the film industry can like come together, you know, watch each other's work, like share ideas, and just get to know each other, form like a sense of like community and things like that.
what we're really trying to do is remodernize the concept of like film festivals, because like, you know, I've been to a couple film festivals recently because of my films,
Right.
and it's like a lot of it is people trying to network and like people trying to meet other filmmakers, but there's always been something very odd about it in the sense that it didn't feel like they were encouraging people to network as much, if you know what I mean. Like it felt more traditional, where you're just watching movies and then that's it, you call it a night.
Right.
So I think this is a really great way for like, you know, because I know so many talented people that they deserve like a way to express themselves, express their work, and I think like this could be a really cool way
Right.
to.
Yeah, and the main thing about the event is we're inviting people who are very talented, however, they don't have the necessary connections to Hollywood. Or, you know, how do we redefine Hollywood in this new modern
in a
age?
more like accessible way, and like to kind of like form like a community of like a lot of people who have the same, you know, goals,
Yeah.
and we all have like similar like drive and passions and stuff like that, and create like a space where all of us can like get together. And we were even saying this earlier, like it's very motivating to be surrounded by people who we all want like the same things, you know, or similar things. And even like in this like in like a more like film festival like environment, to see other people's work that it inspires you, and like to feel like motivated by being around a lot of other creative people. Like when I was on set with you guys, and like when I'm on like sets in general, like it's a very like oh, like we all love film and we're coming together like to make this great thing. I feel like it's like the same type of thing, you know, that we want to make, but just like post-production.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, at the very least, it's just a way to meet people that
Yeah.
are like, you know, have shared interests, and it's just it's gonna be a nice vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I definitely like would like to make some more creative friends because obviously a lot of my friends like are in the healthcare field. Which there's nothing wrong with that, and of course like that's still like a part of my life, but I think it is nice. The first time I was on set, like after like COVID and like all that stuff, like when I was like surrounded by a bunch of people who just want to make good films, I was like, I feel so like rejuvenated. Yeah, I feel like a new like sense of like life is like in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so I feel like our goal is to like make something like that where it's like it just makes people feel like I have like a community, you know?
Yeah. It's almost like a talent show or a
Kinda,
science
yeah,
fair,
yeah,
but for filmmakers.
Yeah.
You know? And in a way that's not as gatekeepy as some, like, as film
Right.
festivals. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
because
Like,
I think a lot
there's-
of like film festivals, it's about like the prestige, right?
Right,
It's
right.
about like, oh, you were like selected to be here, and you were like, it's like a more of like a competition,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And we're not trying to make it like that,
No,
you know.
more,
like
make it more of a, like a showcase.
yeah,
and
like a
just sort of, like,
showcase, exactly.
a hangout almost.
Yeah.
Of like creative people.
Right,
And like
right.
there's nothing,
a chill
no pressure.
kickback.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's conceptual right now. You know, we still have to like,
Plan it,
yeah,
like,
plan it
actually
and do all the
make sure it's
logistical
solid.
things and things like that. But yeah, that definitely is something that I think would be like very
I
cool.
haven't given it a name yet, so.
It's a good idea though. It's a really good idea actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But yo, if
And
that-
also watch Empathy Man.
That concludes our episode of WLab'ing Podcast with Emily and Bryan. If you're interested in watching the film, it's coming soon.
stay tuned.
Stay
It's
tuned.
actually by the time we'll drop this podcast after the film is dropped.
Oh, probably,
so
yeah.
link down below
Yes.
for the film.
Link down below.
Check it out. Follow Emily.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel
Follow her TikTok. Follow
and my
everything.
Follow
TikTok.
Bryan.
Yeah, I'm not an influencer, but yeah, follow me though.
Yeah, but
Make
yeah,
him an
follow me though.
influencer, and of course,
Yeah.
follow WLab. follow this podcast. You know, on all. Yo, I'm about to plug WLab. I'm about to plug WLab. Okay. Now I don't feel comfortable plugging WLab because. All right, fine. Follow this podcast on every. Help me.
What do you want? What do you want to say?
Follow this podcast on all platforms. Stay tuned for other guests talking about
All
the
right.
future of film.
Follow. I already forgot it.
Please subscribe.